cities and also a few other countries. So welcome you all. Please, this program is about thinking. So please keep your focus on the topics that we discuss. Take part into discussion, share your experiences to strengthen your critical thinking skills, and will help you to make you as a better and better thinker as you approach your professional and personal life. Now, I have a couple of times I've heard these sentences, and I would like to know from you whether you have heard this sentence or you might have spoken these sentences. So just write it down in the chat box. If you have heard these or similar sentences, you can unmute yourself and share whether you have experienced or heard anybody speaking like this. Okay, yeah, so there are a couple of responses in chat box. These sentences are quite common, and in fact, we hear quite often from people, even bosses or CEOs or the leaders in the organization. And sometimes unknowingly, unconsciously, we also might have spoken these sentences. Just keep these sentences in mind as we go through the entire module. Maybe at the end of the module, you will find answer. And maybe you will not need to speak these sentences in future at all. As you will find time, you will allocate time for thinking, and you will never say that I'm so busy that I don't have time to think. Because I'm sure many of you are already heading an organization. You are a top leader or a project manager in your company. And if you say that I don't have time to think, then who will think in your organization? Who will think in place of you? So that is a key question that we all have to keep in mind when we are leading any organization or any team. Okay, now I would like you to see this picture, and can you share your observation or your thoughts? What you see in this picture? Either you can unmute yourself or you can write it down in chat box. Let's make it more interactive so that everyone can take part.
This guy is observing.
Okay, this person is observing something. Okay. Any other thought, any other observation that you can make?
He is waiting for some ride.
Okay, he's waiting for some ride. As there is a backpack, he is having a backpack, so he might be going somewhere or would like to go somewhere. Okay.
I think he's carrying much weight.
Okay, he's carrying much weight, maybe more than he should have been carrying, but
yeah,
sometimes we are.
I think he is looking for someone, and
okay. Yeah, so this one picture, but we have several viewpoints, we have several thoughts, and that's what makes our workplace and our family surroundings very interesting, because we all see the same picture or the same thing, but everyone might have a different thoughts, and it really makes it very interesting. Okay, now you might have seen this particular view from a distance. Now I will give you a little close-up of this picture. Okay. What do you see? What is your thought on this?
Waiting for a ride.
Waiting for a ride. Okay.
Waiting for a ride. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Your location seems quite a desert location, so seems like he's stuck somewhere and looking for.
He's stuck somewhere. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yes. we have 55 participants, so I'm sure everyone would be observing. Everyone might be having some different thought
Hello.
process. Yes, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
He's on the way.
He's on the way. Okay. Okay.
Waiting for some lift.
Okay. Yeah, that could also be a possibility. Okay. Interesting. I'll zoom it a little bit further if you have completed your observation. Okay, what do you see here now?
He's asking for
He's hello.
Yes,
Looking
yes.
for a lift.
Okay,
We
he's
need a
looking for.
ride. We need a lift.
He needs a lift. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now imagine that you are in that car which is coming. What will be your thought process if you see this person? Yeah, what will be your thought process if you see this person?
In
As your-
dilemma whether to give lift or not to.
Okay,
We are
yeah,
not sure. We are not sure to give
Yeah.
lift. Yeah, because it's
okay.
a highway road and we don't know, so it's a double mind, you know.
Yeah, this dilemma is quite common, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with the dilemma. Okay. Yes. Anything else? Any other thought or observation or judgment that you can
Well
make?
dressed person.
Well-dressed person. Okay, and probably has a laptop bag or something. Must be a work executive or well-educated kind of a person. Okay. Anything else?
But he's looking in different direction
Okay.
against that cab, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's again a good observation that he is on other side. Yeah, there are quite a few also responses in the chat box as well. So Vivek, if you can see any interesting response, please share.
Yeah, there are actually.
Okay.
Is not decent for me. As the location is very suspicious. Okay, middle of nowhere. That's
Okay.
interesting actually.
Okay.
Okay, and I would be heading and that's direction. Okay. If I would be here, I would have offered. If she's going to go there, she will offer a lift. That is one more.
Okay.
Because he's asking for the lift from someone who is not in the image picture actually.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine, Joe. We just keep all this observation at this point. We will again pick up at the end of the module. And once you start applying a few of the critical thinking tools, you can experience whether your opinion or thoughts are changing, or you have a better idea what to do in this kind of situation. So we keep.
I have one announcement that
Yes.
people are speaking and that's really good. You please to participate, but once you speak complete, please mute yourself.
Yeah.
So please mute yourself as soon as you finish your like.
Okay.
As such.
Okay, so we had a lot of interesting viewpoints. Any quick reflection on as we zoomed the picture, as we came closer to the picture? Any reflection, quick reflection from anybody? Whether your thoughts change or whether your conclusions or judgment changed, and why that happened?
yes, sir. It's based on the history option.
Okay. And can we say this is the best view, or this is the best information that we have to, if we have to take any decision?
No, sir. We require quite more.
Okay. So sometimes even in real life situation, and especially in the business situation, we may not have this kind of clarity We may not have everything in front of us in a visual form, and we have to take a decision. We have to form a judgment. So how difficult it is to make a decision in real life business situations, especially a current situation. And also we have to understand that many different viewpoints or thoughts came. What was the base? What was the reason behind those thoughts? Is there any past experience is playing a role in formation of thoughts? What is that leading to this particular thought? That also we have to keep it in back of the mind. We'll again pick up the same picture before the end of the session to understand in a better way and to apply few of these critical thinking tools that we would like to discuss and see whether there is a better judgment or better viewpoint or better thought that we can have. Okay. Now, many of you, when you heard the announcement of this program, many of you might have thought that why critical thinking? I mean, why are we picking up this topic as part of the PMCP's monthly program? Critical thinking is probably the only way to make the best decision most of the time. Now you may say, okay, in decision making, I'm using many tools. So why we think that critical thinking is the only way to make the best decision? Because here we are emphasizing on best decision and most of the time. So any tool that we can use to arrive at a decision, it will be always part of the critical thinking process, which is always happening in our mind. So if we consciously apply critical thinking, probably our decision success rate of our decision making may go up from 50% to 60, 70, 80, 90, 95, 98% of the time. And you will also be able to share your experience and also see why critical thinking has been ranked as one of the most important skill, not only for the present time, but also in the future. Now, when any manager is applying critical thinking systematically, then automatically the person is establishing his or her credentials as a good problem solver. And people will look at that person in the organization, irrespective of the designation. You know, when someone is a situation leader, someone is able to share solutions in a problem situation, then as a team leader, you would be welcoming those ideas and suggestions. So if people are following critical thinking systematically, you will see they will be establishing their brand image as problem solver and goal achiever. And it's good if by just adopting critical thinking as a systematic approach, if our brand image is being established in organization or in a social circle as a problem solver, it will help in future. Also, it improves communication, because when we are applying critical thinking systematically, then obviously there are steps in which you are listening others' view. You are also communicating your views. You are also analyzing the data. You have a lot of evidences. So your quality of communication will definitely improve, and it improves a lot. Critical thinking is one of the most important aspect when we have to validate our assumptions, because in any decision making, any problem situation, there can be few assumptions that we have to make, because all 100% information about external environment, about so many other stakeholders may not be available with us at that point in time. And there may not be a time also to collect those information. or maybe resources are limited. So in that case, every leader, every manager build a lot of assumptions while taking a decision. So if critical thinking is applied, then you are not just only looking at assumptions, but you are also validating assumptions, and you are able to eliminate the wrong assumptions, and you are able to select or accept the right assumptions, which you would like to include in your arguments or in your proposed plan. In a business situation, when there is a issue, there is a problem, there are customer complaints, or there are projects are not going as per the schedule. In that case, everyone look up to project manager and say, please guide us, please tell us your judgment, give us your explanation. And often project manager will be the face of the organization to even have an argument with other stakeholders. And it has been identified as one of the most important skill for individual growth. So that is the reason that we picked up critical thinking skills this month, so that we get some kind of roadmap and tools to apply in post-COVID growth phase that we are all going to see in near future. There is also a interesting report from World Economic Forum, and in fact, there is an organization called OECD as part of the World Economic Forum. They publish the skill requirement report every year. So this was in 2020, but even 2021 report also says that critical thinking and analysis is one of the top 10 skills in the present time and also in future. And this skill list is getting updated every year after conducting a lot of research at the global level. So this also is a good support for us to select critical thinking as the topic for this month's discussion. Okay, now what is critical thinking? Because there are two words attached to this name, critical and thinking. And normally, whenever we see a word critical, there is some kind of negative image coming into our mind, because we see a film critics or we see a role of critics. So many times we feel that critical thinking means it's all about negative aspects of thinking, or it's about finding a fault in thinking. But that's not true. It is actually an art of thinking. It is the art of thinking while we are thinking, to analyze, evaluate, and improve our own thinking. So the same person is thinking, and when we are thinking, at that time only we have to analyze, evaluate, and improve our own thinking. So that makes it a little bit tricky and little bit complicated for us, because we are the same person who are thinking, we are the same person who have to analyze, we are the same person who have to evaluate and then improve also. So it requires a little bit of practice, but I'm sure once you start implementing it in a systematic way, you will see a tremendous results in your day-to-day decision making. When you want to do critical thinking, then evaluation is one of the major point, that there is a lot of emphasis on evaluation. And what you are trying to do is you are trying to separate truth from the fictional elements, or truth from the not so true information, because you only want to take a decision based on truth, based on accuracy, based on quality of the information, not the quantity of information. Because when you are taking a decision, then you are also forming a judgment, and also you have to form a logical arguments, because all your decisions as a project manager are going to be scrutinized. If those are the decisions related to a major stake, or a major decision making, then somebody is going to question you that why are you recommending this? Why are you proposing this? In that case, your arguments also needs to be ready when you want to discuss with the higher authorities in your organization. So critical thinking helps you to find and understand the facts. It's all facts, and based on the facts, you are taking a decision, and that is the reason it is very, very important. Okay, now just a small review that how our mind functions, because thinking is all happening in the brain, and if we are not fully aware about what happens when we take action or when we allocate energy for moving forward to take action, what happens before that? So for any situation, for any problem, or for any decisions, there will be a thought coming in our mind, and for formation of thoughts, we might be judging, we might be analyzing, we might be perceiving, we might be clarifying, we might be determining, we might be comparing two things, we might be synthesizing inputs in our mind. So that's the thinking process. The focus of this thinking process is to find out what is going on. Yeah, something is happening in organization. So what is going on is the major issue. Then once we take input in our mind, then obviously our mind will also evaluate whether it's going well, whatever is happening is going well, or it's not going well. So if it's going well, then as a person we feel happiness, we feel excited, and we are enthusiastic about those situations. But if something is not going well in front of us, then we might be feeling sadness, we might be stressed, anxious, we might be under stress. So the feeling indicates that whatever is happening, whether it is happening as good or bad. So that kind of comparison happens. And the feeling is basically a manifestation of those thoughts or conclusions that is there in our mind, and it is visible through our body language, through our expressions, the way we speak. So all feelings are manifested on human body. Now, if things are going well, then we would like to continue. We would like to align it with our future goals. So at that time, there is a signal coming that, okay, go ahead, do this, and allocate the energy, allocate time, allocate resources, and complete this task. And that is as per our want. So anything which is going good, we want to accomplish, we want to complete, we want to do more and more such things. Anything which is not going well, then we would like to stop it. We would like to end it. We don't want to repeat it again, if something is not going well. So that kind of no-go decision and allocation of energy decision will be taken by us. And then finally, we will be acting based on this process. So this is how our mind functions throughout the day, probably 18 hours in a day. Remaining 6 hours also, mind is working, but we are not conscious about it because we might be sleeping at that time. Otherwise, 24/7, these activities continue happening. Now, unless we understand its validity of all these facts or all these points from several perspectives, and I always look at the neuroscience, psychological perspective, always look at medical research and management research. So unless we have a context, unless we have a lot of research done on this topic, it is very difficult to just believe what somebody is saying. As a researcher, as an author, as a book author, as a trainer, as an individual, many people have their own experiences or their own research. But my approach generally, while conducting a training program or designing anything, or even to believe whether I should do this or not, I look at a couple of other research. So I looked at neuroscience this couple of years ago, and what is interesting about our brain is whenever there is something, our neurons in our brain start shooting messages. And these are not just few neurons. I hope, I'm sure you all are aware about how many neurons that we have in our brain. As per the recent corrected estimate, there are about 86 billion neurons, 86 billion neurons that every one of us we have in our brain. And when they start shooting messages inside the brain, they consume 66% of the energy of the brain. Now, brain itself, which is just a 2 kilogram of weight, but consumes 20% of our total body calories or energy that our body produces. Out of those 20%, 66% energy is consumed by these neurons when the activity starts in our brain, when the neurons start shooting up the messages. That is the reason our brain require some kind of energy to run, to continue thinking process. Now, brain runs on sugar that we all know, right? That the sugar which is there inside our body, which is converted into energy. So these are all facts. We have to keep it in mind. And if we want to become or do more and more critical thinking, that means we need required amount of sugar in our body. That means that we also have to do a quality eating and quality rest, because when we take a rest, depending on the individual body and depending on the individual, anywhere between 6 hours to 8 hours is the resting time during the day. So when we rest, when we give a rest to our body and also partly to our brain, at that time the brain can synthesize the information. Otherwise, during the day we have a lot of overload of information. Like this 90 minutes of this program, going to be a couple of slides, and a lot of information is coming to everyone's brain. Now, it is definitely a brain overload, because since morning to till evening, you have been busy in your day-to-day life. You have been taking decisions, you have been reviewing documents, you have been sending emails, messages, you have been reading a lot. So there's already a brain is overload, and in that overload situation, this module is creating a little bit more overload situation. So brain require time to consolidate information, and that is the reason we have to give some time to brain, and that we can only do it if we take little bit of break, which is a designed break. That after 1 or 2 hours of activity, if we can take 5 minutes of break, just for making sure that our brain is able to consolidate the information that we have collected in last 1 hour, maybe we will be able to take better decisions rather than just busy all 8-10 hours in a day in work, and then complain that somehow our decisions are not correct or we are not able to make good decisions. So focus on quality eating, focus on quality rest. Both are very vital for our brain and for our critical thinking success. Take relaxation break, intentional break, maybe 6 or 8 during the day, and rest your brain so that the problem solving can become easier, because then the information overload will go away and you have required information for that particular problem or for that particular decision. another important point here is cut down on number of decisions per day that you are making. Now, I don't know how many of you keep a log on how many decisions that you take. Any guess how many decisions you take in a day? Anybody can, based on your experience, how many decisions in a day you take? Any idea? Even guesswork is allowed. Don't go to internet because there will be conflicting information. Okay, so around 40, around 2. Okay, interesting. Countless? Oh, wow. Okay.
More than 1,000, sir.
More than 1,000. Okay, around 100. Many. Okay. So again, I look for a credible research, and you know, in a day we are taking about 35,000 decisions. And how many thoughts that we normally have in a day? Any idea how many thoughts come to our mind? Yes, Mr. Atharva. Yes, please go ahead. So look how we are overloading our brain with thoughts and decision making. 35,000 decisions that we take. The decision can be at what time we should get up, at what time we should go to office, whom to call, all are decisions, right? So yes, you are right, conscious and unconscious thoughts. So about 60,000 thoughts in a day and 35,000 decisions in a day. And then you will definitely tell me that how can we apply critical thinking for 35,000 decisions? We don't have time. So definitely for all decisions, we don't need critical thinking as a systematic approach. But out of 35,000, are you taking one or two most important decision of your life, or maybe of your project, or maybe of your company in a day? At least on those one or two decisions, can you apply? And once you start applying systematically, and it becomes a habit, and then your productivity of applying critical thinking will also substantially improve. And suppose initially you might be taking 1 day time to apply critical thinking for one decision, maybe in future it will become 1 hour, and then in 1 hour you will be able to complete the entire activity of taking decisions, applying critical thinking. So yes, these are all mind-boggling figures. 35,000 decisions a day, 60,000 thoughts a day, and countless of social media, and countless of emails and meetings and human interactions and reading, and how much we are loading our brain. And then we are also not conscious about our food habits, our rest, our sugar intake that we should be taking, quality food, quality rest. So all these factors are actually impacting us. And at some point in time in our life, if we are not able to handle all this, then our stress level will go up, and it will end up into some kind of illness. And we all are aware that which kind of illness that normally we experience when we are working under stress and we are not able to come out from the stressful situation. So critical thinking is, in that way, is really helpful in coming out from that kind of stressful situation and taking better decisions, taking a decision based on the facts for the workplace as well as for the personal life related decisions. Okay, now the key question is, are you a critical thinker? I'm sure everyone would say, yes, I'm a thinker, and no doubt about it. Without thinking process, you would not have reached to this stage of your career. So no doubt about it that everyone is a thinker. But are you a critical thinker? What do you think? What is your assessment? You don't have to type it, you don't have to write it on the chat box, or you don't have to tell anybody. Yeah, but just keep it in mind. I'll be sharing few self-assessment tests, and based on that you can decide how good critical thinker you are. Okay, so there are a couple couple of points that you can look at. And I'm not just going into a long period. Just think about last 1 week, or just think about last few months. Any recent assumptions that you have made, which you should not have made, but you made it in last 1 week or in last 1 month. Just think about it. You don't have to answer anybody, but this reflection is required. So if you have a pen and paper, then just write it down, that any assumptions recently that you have made, which now you have realized that you should not have made it. Any recent concept that you formed, which you were not previously aware. So just write it down, that point. Any point of view that you used to guide your thinking in past 1 week or past 1 month. Any point of view that you might have used it. You attended, many of you have attended, I could see from the name, many of you have attended last couple of our monthly programs. So write 5 key learnings from those programs. And if you, in last 1 week, if you have analyzed your own thinking and assess it in any form, you allocated 5-10 minutes of time to analyze your own thinking. So if you are, these are the set of self-assessment tests that you can think about it. I'll give you a minute to think, because I don't want to be in the, or be responsible for information overload in a short time to share a lot of things, which probably is difficult for you to reflect or to internalize. So I'll give you a minute to think about it. Now, if you are struggling to answer these questions, if you don't know exactly, then you can say, okay, I'm struggling to give this answer. If you are able to answer 1 or 2 questions, then you can say, yes, 1 or 2 questions I'm able to answer. So depending on your ability to answer this question, your level of critical thinking can be, you can be aware about your level of critical thinking, that what is your current level. And there is nothing wrong whether you are at level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Your decision to join this program itself indicates that you would like to become level 6 critical thinker in times to come. You were open for some kind of new thoughts, some kind of new tools, and you were hopeful that if these tools you can apply, then you can become a better critical thinker. So you have already taken a first step in whatever level that you might be at this moment. You already decided to move ahead, and that's a good thing, I would say. Yes, I'll give you 1 minute to think about it. And this realization is very important. And if you feel that you struggle in answering this question, don't worry. Nothing, it's not bad. It's a good realization. This exercise is also a break, because 45 minutes we have been discussing. So I think 1 minute break is required, so that you can structure your thoughts and you can give rest to your brain as well. Okay, there was a response in a chat box. Vivek?
Yeah, there is, I think, some.
Yeah, Mr. Abhishek says that
Yes.
we can categorize all thoughts into 5 varieties, okay, based on true knowledge, wrong perception, yeah, imagination, visualization. Okay.
During the sleep, based on memories.
Yeah, right. But you can only do that if you, after taking decisions or after thoughts, you are actually reflecting, and you are reflecting on those thoughts. Then only you will be able to categorize. So you can also check how many of you are actually keeping a diary about your own learning. that what are all your learnings during the day, which decisions you take during the day. So if you are maintaining such diary, if you are conscious about recording what you are thinking, what you are doing, that itself shows that you are a higher level critical thinker, because you don't want to just leave it on the auto process. You want to note down so that later on, when you have a time, you can reflect on it, you can read on it, you can try to improve on it, you can validate. After 3 months, you can check whether before 3 months you have taken some decision, what is the outcome of that decision. So if you are doing that process regularly, and I'm sure many of you might be doing it, then you are at a high level of critical thinking. But if you struggle to answer these questions, then you are beginning at level 1. And most of us are unreflective thinker. So we are a thinker, but we don't allocate time for reflection. And this is a hard reality. We don't reflect, either because we don't have time, or maybe we have a fear, or we don't know what to do with the reflection. There could be a number of issues. Now, from unreflective thinker to a challenged thinker, if you reach to a level 2, then it becomes more clear to you that you are aware about way of thinking is also shaping your life, professional and personal life. It's all realization. It's all realization that even a good thinker, even a critical thinker, often think poorly, and there is nothing wrong in it. It just happens. As Mr. Abhishek mentioned, that there are many decisions that we take without based on assumptions. So if we would have done that, then definitely those thinking might be extremely poor. So we might have done, or we might have done assumption or questionable assumptions. We might have thought about it. We might have used false, incomplete, or misleading information as part of our analysis. So only if this realization, and if you are able to spot these things are happening in your decision making, it makes you a challenged thinker. It makes you to a level 2 category of thinking. Just awareness, because the moment you have awareness, that means that your transformation, your change journey starts. Because if you are aware about something, then definitely you will be able to improve on it. But if we remain addicted to poor thinking, then it will be difficult. Then we will be playing between level 1 and level 2 only. So we have to somehow break the habit of poor thinking, and we have to take steps to reach to a higher level of critical thinking. Then when we reach to a level 3, there the first realization is that I am indisciplined thinker, and only I can do something about it. Only I can change about it. So that kind of acknowledgement that yes, my thinking has a problem, and I am only the person responsible to improve it. The moment you have that realization, you have become a level 3 thinker, because then on now that point onwards, you are consciously aware about converting your indiscipline into a disciplined thinker, and you will take all the steps necessary to become a disciplined thinker, a true critical thinker. At that point in time, you actively decide to take up a challenge. You say nothing doing, whatever happened in the past is past. Now I'm accepting this challenge, and I will make sure that I will become a critical thinker of higher level 5, level 6 probably. You develop your willpower, you are ready to reflect, you analyze logic of all the situations, at least critical ones, and you allocate your time and resources. You start raising questions, you start asking questions before forming a judgment. So if you are asking a lot of questions before forming a judgment or before taking a decision, you are probably operating at level 3. Now, it also happens that at some decisions you might be operating at level 3, somewhere you are at level 2, somewhere you are at level 1. that happens as well. Depending on severity or depending on impact, you might be changing your level. But if we can become a higher order critical, higher level critical thinker in most of the critical or important decisions, is only going to help us and our organization. If you start checking information for accuracy, completeness, accuracy, authenticity, and you start separating information, raw information versus someone's interpretation, and then analyzing that raw information and interpreting in your own way, and you start understanding foundation of thinking and also which are the factors which influence your own thinking, then you are operating at level 3. Level 4, you start realizing that it's not a one-day job, that one day you become a level 4 thinker and next day you again go back to your workplace with the same level 1, level 2 kind of approach. So you prepare a plan, you recognize that I must do regular practice. And as we all know that if we practice something every day, then we are going to become competent in that particular activity. Whether it is a yoga, whether it is any sports skills, whether it is a writing skill or anything, if we practice regularly, then we see there is a lot of improvement in our output. So you prepare a plan. Every day you rethink about your strategy to improve. So, I mean, you will not stop your thinking process. You will continue thinking, you will continue arriving at a judgment, conclusions, but then maybe before implementation, before action, you stop for a moment and you start reflecting on, is my strategy is correct? Is my action is correct? And if you start rethinking and if you start validating your assumptions, that you are operating at level 4. Now, how the improvement will come? So first is we know the theory, then we practice it, then we monitor, and we take a feedback, and then we improve, because feedback will help us to improve. So theory to practice to feedback to improvement is a continuous cycle. If we apply this cycle continuously, then we are operating at level 4. Now, many a time people say that we don't have that much time. We are so busy. Our organization is growing very fast. We have to take several decisions in a day. There are a lot of operational issues. There are a lot of customer issues. And I'm an operation manager and I don't have time. Yes, it happens if you are in that kind of industry, growth industry, or if your organization structure or your issues are not allowing you to allocate a lot of time. But can you identify out of 8 hours of your work at workplace, can you identify 5, 10, 15 minutes only, which can be categorized as a wasted time, which otherwise unconsciously you would waste that time? If you can identify that wasted time, and only in that wasted time you do this critical thinking, you consciously do a reflection, you start noting down about your learning, your experiences, under which circumstances you took a decision. So all this you reflect only in the 10-15 minutes a day, not out of 8 hours, 4 hours you do critical thinking. Only 10-15 minutes, maybe only for 1 or 2 decision a day, 1 or 2 issue a day. It will make you a completely a different level of thinker in a short time. And this is doable. This is doable. I can share based on my own experience that yes, 35,000 thoughts, we cannot apply critical thinking. We don't need to. But yes, 1 or 2 or 5 decisions a day, we can do critical thinking. We can apply critical thinking systematically. So level 4 is definitely a much higher, because then you will be a practicing thinker and you will be always trying to find out whether you did worse thinking, whether you did best thinking, was there any negative thinking, was there any frustrations, what was my my feeling at that time when I interacted or when I took that decision or when I made that judgment. If I have to repeat I have done today, if I have to repeat it, will I do the same thing or will I do differently? So every day is for us is a good reflection. Every day can tell us a lot about how we perform today. And if we realize that yes, we have not performed up to our potential, then definitely it can call for some kind of improvement for tomorrow. If you operate at this level, then you are definitely at level 4. Just take for the if you have not done consciously in the past, just pick up only one problem a day and pass that problem through critical thinking systematically. You will see within few months or within a year, you will see a very different version of your own thinking or your own personality. There are a lot of barriers why not everyone is excellent in critical thinking, and these barriers are also, again, there could be a multiple issues. There is no time. We are already busy in so many things. Our priorities are different. So what all can help us to become a better thinker is definitely a more reading. We read more, it helps us to gain lot of knowledge, a lot of different other perspectives on the topic. And if we have a poor reading, we don't read something new every day, then it becomes a barrier. So it's not that you have consciously decided not to read, but somehow you are not able to allocate dedicated time for your reading. Ideally, we should be reading at least 30-50 books a day, new books, new thoughts, new research. But in reality, we might not be able to even read 1 or 2 books in a year. I mean, at the start of the year, we may prepare our New Year resolution that this year I will read 20 books, and then by December we will look at it, and we might have a different feeling about ourselves, that why we could not allocate time for reading. Similarly, whenever we are in a reply mode, that somebody is telling something and we have a ready reply, we have a argument or counter argument, that indicates that we have a very poor listening. And if we don't listen, then how we can become a critical thinker, how we can allow other thought process also to be added into our thinking process. And in an organization, everyone in an organization, all the team members might contribute into some kind of value addition. So are we listening to everyone? We might have a lot of biases, and these biases are actually the major reasons for us it becomes a barrier to not becoming a critical thinker. Sometimes we are in a binary reasoning, yes or no, either I'll do it or I will not do it. So that kind of binary reasoning is also impacting our thinking process. A lot of prejudice. We have a prejudice about people, we have prejudice about organization, situation, or maybe a tool that we might be using it. We are not open to other views, fear of change. I mean, every change actually takes a lot of efforts, and it takes us out from our comfort zone, every change. And we have a fear, and that's why probably we are consciously not thinking on our thought process. We have a selective perception or selective attention that we might be giving, also could be a reason. We are always in argument or reply mode, more frequent reply that we might be giving, instead of listening and instead of internalizing, instead of analyzing, we are just giving a reply or to other person. And a habit of not using critical thinking also could be a barrier in critical thinking. I think sometime we have to spend on biases, because these biases are, especially in the project context, these biases, I mean, these are general biases. It can be applied to any work situation. But in specifically in project situation, there could be an overestimation of benefits and underestimation of risk, cost, and duration. And this is happening quite frequently because we are always in a hurry to start the project. The sales cycle is such that it takes longer time, but the delivery deadline of the project does not change. So sales cycle actually takes away some time out of the project, and the project team is always under pressure to complete or start the project and complete the project by that time. So that could be one of the reasons. We look for only the evidence that supports our belief. Let's say there is a vendor evaluation is going on, and there are 5 or 6 vendors who are giving presentation to us. Now, if we are already biased and our belief about a particular vendor is so strong, then we will look for only those evidences which supports our belief, and then we try to justify our decision that why this vendor is good enough. Maybe infrastructure, maybe their processes or something. There could be few other good vendors are also there, but somehow we are not looking to those evidences. We solve problems using familiar methods and not necessarily the best one. And this is quite often is happening. So if a project manager is very much fond of stage gate methodology in project planning and monitoring, and if the best solution is agile methodology, then somehow the project manager will try to adopt the stage gate, because the stage gate is the most familiar method and he or she might have used it hundreds of times in the past. And that is a quite a natural selection that happens, but the best one might be agile. So just look at it whether we or any of the team members are not making these kind of mistakes. Sometimes we use information as starting point to evaluate our current project, and that information becomes an anchor for us, and that may not be the right way to start our project. So maybe let's say a previous project, information about previous project, lesson learned from the previous project. Now that is the information that is available at start of the project, but that information may not be 100% applicable to this project. But somehow we take up that and we made as anchor, and then our decision making is already biased about those new project. Brain doesn't like wasting energy. Now this is something is also a lot of medical research happened. Our brain has a defense mechanism, so brain try to find a lazy way of doing activities, unconsciously. Nobody is conscious about doing intentionally something with the lazy efforts. So brain try to use readily available information rather than spending a lot of time and energy on searching information through internet, library, books, reports, previous year's document of the company, and maybe that may not be the best way of collecting or using the information. There is also a lot of people have a belief that more information is equal to better decision. Now, I have also seen, because as consultant, I work with a number of companies, and they might have hundreds of documents, hundreds of videos, hundreds of their previous project files. Now, they feel that because we have a lot of information, our decision making will be better. Now, more information certainly it can be a good for your analysis, but do you have that much time to actually use all the information which is available to you, or you want to select the quality information which is required to make a decision? So it's somewhere we have to look at the quality versus quantity, and not going by bias that we only have to have more information. Otherwise, you will spend a lot of time on collecting information and analyzing the information rather than devoting that much time on starting your project or improving on your project. it is better to do a proper lesson learned meeting with lot of time to reflect on how we did our project, what are the important key learnings, and then bringing a change rather than waiting for a lot of information at the start of the project. If your project require that kind of information analysis, then definitely you have to do it. But then you have planned your project accordingly. If you are preparing a strategic proposal or a business plan, then definitely you might do market research or consumer behavior research. In that case, you have allocated that much time, so no problem. But otherwise, more information is not always equal to better decision. Brain can only make a limited number of quality decisions in a day, and this fact we all would have experienced, that at night 9 o'clock from the workplace, if we go to home and someone at home is referring some very important decision to make at that time, many times our approach is, can we discuss this particular issue tomorrow, even though we know this is a very important decision. It is a just natural response from us because we consider that particular decision as very important, and because we have already exhausted our energy during the day and we have made several important decisions, and now we don't have any energy left for doing critical thinking and taking decision for that important point. So it is better that you should make important decisions on the next day. This also indicates that you identify which is your best and highest energy time during the day. And again, there are a number of research, and maybe someone points out that between 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. or between 10 to 12 in the morning is the best time to take a decision. So you identify the best time to take a decision and shift your most important decision onto that time zone. Don't take important decisions when you are very low on the energy. And this we can do it, right? We can plan which critical decision we should take at which point in time during the day. Also, 80-20 rule is playing a major role. 80% of the work or activity that we do might result into only 20% of the benefits, and vice versa. So that also could be an issue in our thinking process. Many times people prefer status quo rather than challenging own thinking. They say, okay, whatever is happening, we continue. Whatever is the process that we follow, we continue. So that also could be an issue. There is also many people might have a tendency to act in a haste immediately. There's a tendency to act without going through the detailed structured process. So that also can be hinder our development as a critical thinker. If we are too frequently procrastinating important conversations, and it happens very frequently in our personal life as well as professional life, that difficult conversation, the conversation related to disputes, related to ill feelings, related to complaints, we might want to shift it to some other day. And there are a number of downside of this kind of shifting of the important conversation, because it keeps occupying and fear in your mind. What will happen? You have already delayed by 2 days. So for 2 days, you will be under stress anyway. And after 2 days, that matter may become worse. So it's better that you head on, take up those kind of disputes or those difficult conversations with people without procrastinating to some other day. It will help you to spare your brain for some other creative and some other important decision making. So how you tackle bias? These are all the biases. Is your awareness about the biases. You avoid assumptions, and this avoiding assumptions require you to ask questions, to collect a lot of data, and analyze the data. Try to find root cause analysis. Try to find the root causes using root cause analysis tools. Listen properly, listen to other people. Don't be in a reply mode. Discuss in detail, ask questions, and give maximum focus on data and evidences. Focus on a objectivity. So once you have a relevant data and information, then automatically the objectivity is there. Otherwise, all your decision making will be highly subjective. And consider risk and issues upfront. Don't keep risk under carpet. Whether it is a personal life or a professional life, all the risk that anyone is facing or anyone is feeling that this might happen, positive or negative risk, just upfront recognize, acknowledge them, put it in an Excel spreadsheet and a risk management format, and then you will not have a bias, and then you will be clear on your thinking process. To improve your thinking skills, you will be continuing your reading, collecting information, analyzing it, making inferences, evaluate, do a proper evaluation, interpretation, explanation, and also arguments. If your proposal require arguments, then also you should be ready with your arguments. So keep on on developing and sharpening all these skills at the same time. Now, in reality, ground reality of projects, specifically the projects that we have in the complex world today, there are more constraints in terms of time and resources. All the projects almost are under heavy constraints, and the environment has become extremely speedy. Customer wants everything yesterday. There are deadline pressure. There are multiple deliverables. There are a lot of scope changes are happening. Stakeholders of the projects, important stakeholders, doesn't like that you question them, and you might have experienced attending the meeting with customer or meeting with your higher managements. Not all your leaders like questioning during those kind of important meetings. Stakeholder biases, the way you might have bias, similarly, all the stakeholders are also human beings, and they also might have their own biases. So, and these are all important stakeholders, so they might directly or indirectly influence the entire project planning or the execution. There could be unrealistic expectation, and this is not understatement. 50-60% of projects, sales team commit to customer with unrealistic deadlines, and then the pressure comes on project manager to somehow complete the project by sense of time, because there was no other way that we could have won this tender or contract if we would have stick to our own project deadline. So many times expectations are quite unrealistic. There's a lot of misunderstanding and also the issue with the processes, and people don't like to challenge the norms. The established norms only people would like to follow. There could be a new domain knowledge gap. Maybe for pharma company, you have received a project for the first time. Maybe some kind of pharma domain knowledge could be a gap. So these are all ground realities of a project or a project team. So how to do a critical thinking in project, understand the core problem. So defining the problem is the most important step in the problem solving process. Make sure that you are not under any kind of biases. You gather a lot of information. You allocate time and resources to collect information, to do proper analysis, to do evaluation of data and information. And only then you form a judgment or inferences based on objective assessment by yourself. It may be observation, it may be listening, it may be going through the data analysis reports. Then you generate and evaluate several alternatives Every alternatives might have positive or negative consequences. So you evaluate all the alternatives. You look at the risk and rewards of all alternatives and choose the best one, and be ready with your explanation and arguments. Because 80% of the time, somebody in your higher authority is going to question if you are taking a step which may not be in line with the higher authority's thinking. In that case, you might have to defend your decision, or you might have to defend you might have to be ready with your explanation or arguments. There are several tools that you can use it. Concept maps is one of the good tool, and we also have another version of concept map which is called as a mind map, which is very popular nowadays. Sometime in future, we would like to also do a program on mind map in project management. Root cause analysis, there are very many popular tools available, especially for manufacturing organization. All manufacturing companies are actually using these tools. So service organization can also use the same tool. Pareto chart is a good start point to understand the gravity of situation or problem, or to prioritize a problem. And group brainstorming is one of the best tool that the Japanese companies have shown to the world, that what is the impact of such brainstorming and how it can bring path-breaking results and help us to achieve a global competitiveness just by participation of worker, just by participation of the group members. 6 thinking hats is a very good tool, as far as, because it's a thinking tool. So it is also a part of the group brainstorming. So you can also think about using 6 thinking hats as a tool to resolve any of the complex issue that you might have in your organization. Okay, coming back to our original picture. Now, if you have to apply these critical thinking tools and have to form a judgment, what do you think? Would you like to remain with your own judgment that you took 70 minutes ago, or you would like to change? Or how you would like to approach with your observation, inference, or judgment, or your thought? Can you apply critical thinking tool, and can you reflect? Can you share your learning? Yes, anyone?
Yes, sir. I would like to apply the critical thinking. According to me, the core problem is here the person is waiting, and to avoid the biases, I consider that he is not a bad person, or maybe not a thief or anyone.
Okay.
But to analyze it, he seems like a work-going person, or maybe a unknown to the place.
Okay. Interesting.
That's all, sir.
Chetan, I would like to add here that
yes,
we can see that we can talk to him, we can discuss, listen to him, and then further take a call as to how genuine the person could be, and then based on that we can take the decision as to whether it is genuine and whether we should give a lift or not to give a lift.
Okay.
I guess to understand, to make a decision whether we have to give a lift or not to give a lift, we should first know why is he standing there and how he, came to be in middle of nowhere.
Okay, now it seems that everybody is thinking about giving lift or person is in need. Are we already biased about it or not?
Can I give my
yes,
thought?
please. Yeah, apply critical thinking and try to share your views now.
Okay. First thing is it's a choice I have. Okay. First thing, it's not something I have to take decision immediately or have to take decision. So I look at the question I have, or the critical situation or situation I have in front of me is not severely had anything to him. He's a quite gentleman, looks standing, of asking for help. Okay. So it's reasonable that he might get or might not get help in the coming time. So I have a choice whether to decide on my prejudgments and current scenario, how I form an opinion. I'll decide whether should I go for it or not go for it. He seems he doesn't have anything in the hand, so he seems harmless. But still, if I have right situation with me, I have somebody, and if I am in that courageous mode, I'll probably go and ask at least, try to understand whether I should see what he is looking for. If I see there is something I can help and find him genuine, probably in that case there is a I'll take a risk.
Okay.
But there's something not something I have to do because it's not demanding situation.
Okay.
That's
So
what
anybody could felt what your observation earlier, and with some inputs on critical thinking, you are now forming a different inference or judgment, or a little bit thinking more in detail about the situation.
Yes, sir. Earlier, I was thinking he was asking for ride, but now I'm thinking that he may ask for any help rather than lift only.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll give you one more input related to this
Sir, good
particular
evening.
situation, and then you tell me your inference or decision. Yes. Anybody else would like to share their
Sir,
own? Yes.
in my perspective, maybe he's accompanied with another person who is taking photograph, and he's enjoying that moment. He's showing that yes, that hill and all that atmosphere, it is enjoyable.
Okay.
And you want to move in that direction. So to enjoy that and complete environment, he may be enjoying the complete scenario. That may be the one of.
Now you see, this is a completely different viewpoint, right? And it might be true as well. We don't know at this moment. But as we start applying these tools, we are able to change our earlier thought process. Let me give you one more critical input related to this situation. Those of you who are generous or kind people and would like to help others, and normally I believe everyone has, that's some kind of nature to help someone who needs a help. Let me give you one important critical input or information about this particular situation. There is a law in our country in a traffic rules. The clause is 66/192, which prohibits, which does not allow you to give lift to an unknown person in your vehicle. This is a law, and if you are caught giving a lift to unknown person that you don't know that person, you will have to pay 2,000 rupees of fine. Now this is the additional input I have given to you. Now what will be your decision? Is this information helpful in taking a decision or forming a judgment?
Yeah, absolutely big no.
Now
Yes,
see,
there's a cost involved, and there's a legal actions involved now, so it has got more importance.
Yeah. Now, because you were not aware, you were thinking about helping lift, and now you are aware about the law. So unless it is some extreme emergency situation, maybe you would be not ready to help because you see your own consequences, right? So now, do you see the importance of collecting data and information? Now, this is a very simple situation, right? I mean, we might be facing similar simple situation hundreds of times during the day. And how many times we really spend time and efforts in collecting data, analysis, information. And knowingly or unknowingly, we might be ending up into some kind of trouble. Now, keeping this in mind, can we allow us to take business decision with very limited information or no information? What do you think?
મહિનાને કે મારે નીકળવું છે બતાવી દે બાપુને કે બધી તૈયારી કરે.
Yes, anyone would like to share the reflection, because we have reached to an end of our session.
So this is Neil here. So I think it's again we're all talking about the situation, because I was in such a kind of a situation where I needed help, and I got the help. So I had a flat tire, and then we didn't know right in nowhere in the Middle East.
Yes,
and
yes.
So I experienced that. So see, there could be a law. I'm not saying if there's a law or there's no law, but it's your decision at that point of time. Because I was very grateful to the person who gave me the lift, took me to that shop some miles away, and then got the repair done, and he brought we could bring back the flat tire and fix it, etc., and then move on. But it is how you look at it. I mean, if you are going to be preconceived with all your thought process and say there's a law, I will not do it, that doesn't work actually in reality.
No,
So
I understand. We have picked up this. We are not analyzing this particular situation. We
Yeah.
have picked up this common real life example
correct. Even
just
in our
to
projects,
understand our thinking process and how instinctively we are taking decisions without looking at all the facts and information. From that perspective, we are discussing. Now, the key point that I would like to draw your attention at this point in time is what kind of introspection is required after going through this program. Our education and exam is focused only on what to think. Even today, we are talking about new education policy, and we are trying to bring a change in curriculum, but schools and colleges are still in the mode of what to think. Nobody spends time on how to think. So our effort was to highlight how to think, not just what to think. And our maximum focus right now is on memory. In family or in urban business, we hear that don't think, follow the instructions I'm giving. Have you experienced this? Someone elder in the family member would say like this. Your boss might have said number of times, do what I say. May not be directly, but indirectly it means that we have to follow boss instruction. So where is the critical thinking is involved? Where is the critical thinking as a space? Is there any incentive or benefit that people or manager is getting for doing critical thinking? At times, the project managers are, if they are too much on critical thinking, they are branded like you are slow in decision making, you are wasting a lot of time on collection of data and information. It's a very simple matter. Why are you dragging? Why are you not taking instant decisions? No one teaches us how to think. And the entire 18 hours a day, we are thinking about 60,000 times, and we are taking 35,000 decisions, small or big, and no one teaches us how to think. So, I mean, there is one exercise that if you really want to reach to a higher level of thinking, critical thinking, then identify one major issue that on which you have taken a decision and you have solved that particular matter. But pick up that issue of past, follow a critical thinking process, and see whether you could have taken a different decision or formed a different judgment. There is a university in US, University of Massachusetts in Boston, introduced a program, 9-month certification program on critical thinking. It is one of the very good program available for project managers and otherwise other managers as well. So there are few educational institute and organizations have started giving focus on critical thinking. Otherwise, there is not much is happening on training or teaching on how to think. So spread this awareness to your near and dear ones. Spread this awareness into your own organization, and you become a higher level of higher order or higher level of critical thinker. Adopt these practices and share your learnings and share your experiences. With this, I would like to conclude. If there are any questions, we can discuss. Otherwise, Vivek and Professor Jarbai, over to you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. So good program. Anybody has any question, please do write, raise the hand, or you can write down in the chat box, or
otherwise, please do quick reflection, because this is a critical thinking program. We cannot end without a quick reflection. What are the key learnings from this session? Yes, as I can see, there are a couple of reflections already in a chat box. Yes, past experience helps. Sometimes past experience actually creates a bias also. So, so we have to be careful. Past experience should not make us biased. Okay, thank you, Shraddha, for your feedback.
Yes, I think all participants, they have reflected through the chat box. So now the time for vote of thanks, sir. So I, on behalf of Department of Manufacturing Engineering and Industrial Management and Project Managers Club Pune, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to Mr. Ketan Gandhi, sir, for his excellent talk on this critical thinking. The topics what we focused, such as critical thinking levels, barriers, biases, and different tools and techniques like agile and then stage gate methods, different tools, and how it has to be implemented in the project management aspects. So really, it was a wonderful session, sir. All we got the insights related to this, and definitely different aspects related to critical thinking we have got. Also, I would like to thank